free ain't free. And what I mean by that is, imagine this: a country full of people living with Mother Nature instead of taking and extracting from Mother Nature. And it's getting to the point where what was free, the air, water, the fact that you could pick up and go anywhere and just make a life for yourself, that's gone. And while we're focusing on the foolishness of society, our basic human rights, supposedly for people that didn't look like us, are being taken away from the citizens of this country. If you have to pay for water, what is it going to be next? Pay for where you live. Sometimes you have just to be transported. But this is not where I really want to go, because I want to tell you about a time, something similar to right now, is when a group of people start to rise beyond what another group of people think that they're supposed to be, the level that they're supposed to be at. They rise above that, and they think that they're getting too powerful. All of a sudden, there is a problem. This problem could be equated to the Tignon Law of Louisiana in the late 1700s. But imagine, Louisiana was not like a lot of places in North America. They had a vibrant crossroad of cultures. Picture bustling streets where free people of color navigated a world shaped by the ambitions of the white ruling class. Now they say you can contrast it with modern times, but no time can truly be contrasted with something that you have never seen, only heard, read. You never experienced it. But let's look at what was written. Take a journey back to a time when a single piece of cloth, the tignon, became a tool of oppression and a banner of resistance. In the 1800s, unlike anywhere in North America, free people of color, many of African descent, French, Italian, but most importantly, the natives who were here, and those people that were mixed in with them to make believe that certain people weren't here long ago. But people who were slaves in other states, in Louisiana, they were entrepreneurs, property owners, and fashion icons. Their presence and success, however, did not go unnoticed by those in power. See, they were carving a space out for themselves, advancing economically, socially, and even legally. And this became a threat to the ruling class, especially women who looked at women of color as being more beautiful or on a level with their beauty. So, how did they deal with that? Well, this tension set the stage for a new kind of control, one meant to diminish, but ultimately to define. The governor then, Miro, which a street is named after him, and the Tignon Law. So in 1786, he issued what would become known as the Tignon Law. The logic simply was insidious, visually brand black women so that their beauty, power, and success would not eclipse those of their white counterparts. The law required women of color to cover their head. Made big mistake, a headscarf. This intent was clear, to mark them as lesser, to limit their freedom, and to remind them of their place in social hierarchy. The tignon was more than a piece of cloth. It was a visual marker, an attempt to suppress the individuality and rising independence of black women. The authorities believed that forcing this head covering would make these women invisible, stifle their aspirations, and reinforce social boundaries. Branding, a daily reminder of who was allowed to shine and who was meant to dim their light. But these women in the law, they worked something out. They transformed what was meant to be a rag on their head into something that created pride, a fashion statement. They got so creative where these bold and intricate wraps and elegant decorations were meant to erase their beauty. Instead, it amplified it. It was no longer or not a mark of shame, but a crown of pride. It was worn with dignity, turning oppression into a display of resilience and resistance. This is the irony of all of this. You tried to make someone lesser, and you arrive at a conclusion, and this conclusion that you arrived, you started to emulate. Because, see, the white women were captivated by the style and grace of black women, and they began to adopt the tignon themselves. The visual branding meant to enforce hierarchy now blurred those very lines, providing and proving that power cannot be contained by a cloth or decree. The oppressed became the trendsetters. Like today, the law's intent was subverted, and the tignon symbolism shifted from constraint to celebration. Now they say you can draw some parallels, but the parallel that I see is a white teacher cutting the braids of a black child. Okay? The things that I see are people making fun of people that they really envy. You see, laws like this Crown Act strive to protect people from discrimination based on their hair texture and style. But the struggle to reclaim beauty and resist visual branding persists. And now it's gotten to the point where those who were once looked at as being creative and all of that are trying to emulate the people who tried to visually brand them 200 years ago. So one of the things that we have to look at is that things that are designed to suppress sometimes fail, and not only do they fail, they propel those who are supposed to be affected by that into the wild blue yonder. They make it where those people stand out even more. I wanted to give you this because this is February.